Hello, Furnal Equinox 2021. How's your Sunday been? You might have met me in a few places these last 2 days, and I might have told some of you about this panel. To reintroduce myself, my name is Hiru, and I've been a furry for about 5 years now. Welcome to my panel on the autism spectrum. To start this panel off, most of you know what autism is, but for those who don't know what autism is a disorder found in many people around the world. Autism isn't only one disorder. Think of like an equalizer you see in a music recording studio. Some dials may be turned up while others are turned down. The main things that are different with autism from normal people is that our social skills are different. Some common traits in autism are repetitive behaviors, lack of facial expressions, excessive tics, and overreacting emotions. In some autistic people, they are sensitive to loud noises, like fire truck sirens. But this isn't all autistic people. Some autistic people lack empathy, or have so much empathy that if you tell them your cat got stuck in a tree, they'll react a bit too much. Some autistic people lack communication and need extra support for their wants and needs. This doesn't mean autistic people are any less human than normal people. It's just that they think in a different way. Some autistic people even have difficulty seeing things properly. Their vision might be a bit more blurry than normal. Not all autism is bad, though. Sometimes the brightest minds have autism. Some people with autism might be more smart or creative or give ideas that no one has ever thought of before and revolutionize the world. I haven't brought this up in the presentation, but I indeed have autism. To elaborate, I will now move on and tell you about my experience with autism. To start, I was born a happy and healthy baby, no problems at all. But then when I became 2, my parents started to notice some things about me that were off. For example, I would have a hard time looking at people in the eye, or overreact out of nowhere. My parents wanted to get to the bottom of this, and they found out I had autism. Instead of wallowing away about something that will affect me for the rest of my life, they decided to brainstorm what to do next in order for me to have a happy and confident future. They wanted to bring me to therapy, but the fees were too high for them to pay. So they decided to start a fundraiser to get the funds that they need to get me into therapy. After a few successful years with the fundraiser, they noticed that other people had problems with getting their children into therapy, which brings this to the mind. Why not only help one person, but everyone in our area? So they rebranded their fundraiser so they could help autistic children in our area. Last year, we reached $1 million in donations overall during the entire history of our fundraiser. Also, we've been able to help almost 100 kids get the support they need to lead their lives successfully. How have I fared in all of this? If I never went to therapy, I wouldn't be here discussing about autism, now would I? Because I would have a hard time communicating to other people. That's how well I fared. Moving on, I did discuss how not every single person with autism have the same symptoms, but there are also versions of autism in the autism spectrum, which I will speak about now. Some certain disorders in the autism spectrum include Asperger's, ADHD, Tourette's, OCD, ADD, ODD, and even more common disorders like depression and anxiety. People with Asperger's have symptoms like unnecessary laughing, certain attachments to objects, echo words that other people say, and have a hard time interacting with people. People with ADHD and ADD have a tendency to forget things, have anxiety attacks, and are easily distracted. Those who have this Tourette's syndrome have something called tics, where at random moments they do a certain action, and said action is repeated at random times around the day. A tic could be something like swearing, snapping, scratching, throwing, or even actions that could hurt themselves or someone else. Someone with OCD could have a tendency to be very well organized to the point where it affects them negatively. For example, they see a door that is slightly open. If they want the door to be closed, they stop what they're doing and focus their attention on the closing door. When they close the door, they shut it with force, causing the disruption to their daily schedules and others. People with ODD are sometimes short-tempered, and they overreact to very small things. I'm betting some of you listening to this panel are wondering, oh, how am I able to support people with autism? Well, there are a few different ways to do it. One way is by donating to an organization that supports those with autism. One organization that would come to mind is Autism Speaks, since they are the most well-known charity that deals with autism. But don't donate to them. Just don't. If you want to know why not to, I'll leave you with 2 words: shock therapy. An organization that does effectively support those with autism is ASAN, or the Autistic Self-Advocacy Network. ASAN is the perfect place to put your donations, since none of their donations go to self-profit. All of it goes straight to supporting people with autism. Another way to support autism is by knowing the proper etiquette for interacting with those with autism. Some things to get out of the way: autism is not something to be laughed at. It's not a meme, it's not comedy, it's something nobody can change. For those who do, please, for the love of all that is good, stop using the R slur. That's the equivalent of a white guy calling someone by the N-word. But even we with autism don't use that word. Back to the point, when someone tells you that they have autism, don't respond like, "Oh no, I'm so sorry, is there anything I can do to help you or support you?" That's just too over the top, and sometimes it overwhelms us. The correct response is just a simple, "all right." Another thing to get out of the way: please don't treat us like we're 5. I've seen this happen way too many times in real life. We don't like it. One more way to support us is to stand by us. When we want something to be done in the world, we want it to be done. If someone tries to pass a law that would lessen our privilege as people, we'd do something about it. That's all I'll say on that front. Who are some famous people with autism? I shall list a couple. Sir Isaac Newton is currently theorized to have autism, which would make him the most well-known person in the world that had autism, if it is true. For anyone living under a rock, Sir Isaac Newton discovered gravity by the most unusual way. An apple fell on his head from a tree. When Sir Isaac Newton noticed this, he had the brilliant idea to come up with the laws of physics, which are known from all across the world. Another person with autism is Temple Grandin. Temple is the most well-known person who is known to have autism. In her early years, people thought Temple wouldn't amount to much due to her autism. But when she became older, she started to work in the meat industry and noticed that cows at the farm she worked at weren't exactly in line. By realizing that cows have certain similar feelings to those with autism, and coupled by the fact that one of her coping strategies was getting squeezed, she devised a plan that would revolutionize the meat industry forever. By having cows travel through tight tunnels, they would get the meat plantations would get more cows to process even quicker. Without Temple and her brilliant idea, we would have less food on our tables today. Closing this panel off, I hope everyone who watched this panel learned something very important today, whether it's how to treat someone with autism or now knowing what the symptoms are with autism. I hope you enjoyed this panel, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the time we have here at Furnal Equinox. Thank you, and goodbye.